It was a big week of voting in America. You were obviously voting for the next president of the United States, as well as the midseason MVP for this week's Voice of the Fan. Obviously, the important things are there. We're going to go through the results right now with you. Let's start at the bottom. Robert Griffin III, Eli Manning, both at 3%. Pretty impressive for RG3, a rookie, to get even 3% of the vote when you look at who else is around him. Tom Brady, 6%. Ben Roethlisberger, 8%. Looking at those results, I think Big Ben is kind of the guy that stands out there because quietly having a very good season for a Pittsburgh Steelers team that looks primed to make the playoffs again. What do you think about Roethlisberger kind of outdueling Tom Brady there?
I think that the numbers are very, very similar, almost identical, and I think that when you look at the role that the Steelers have been on, sort of positioning themselves as perhaps one of the teams to beat in the AFC, I'm not shocked by it. We talked about it off camera. I think we just come to expect greatness from Brady, from Roethlisberger as well, but it means so much to his team playing really good football over the past few weeks. I think maybe the one difference is the Patriots' run game has been consistently excellent, whereas the Steelers really just got it going recently, so maybe that's why Ben's a slight bit higher.
Yeah, Steelers got it going recently with their number 18 running back having to deal with so many injuries. Speaking of players dealing with injuries, look at Aaron Rodgers. He got 12% of the vote, and Aaron Rodgers was our midseason All-Pro quarterback, and when you look at that, he might as well have been our midseason All-Pro MVP. He's putting up huge numbers again, but the Packers have lost 3 games. He's dealt with a lot of injuries. He certainly could deserve more vote. And then you look at J.J. Watt, another guy, 19% of the vote, pretty high for a defender, but a lot of people even putting J.J. Watt number 1. When you look at Rodgers and Watt, what's your reaction to those votes?
Well, I'll get to it in a minute. To me, they stack up as 1-2. I know we'll get there in a second. I just think that Rodgers has overcome more than anyone else on this list. I think that J.J. Watt has been more consistently dominant on a weekly basis than any other player in the NFL. That includes quarterbacks. I think Watt has been the most unstoppable force in the first half of the season.
And there definitely were those of you who tweeted at us using the hashtag Voice of the Fan that Charles Tillman should be considered for MVP, certainly putting up ridiculous numbers when it comes to creating turnovers. Now we go to the top. Matt Ryan was number 2 with 23%. When you're the quarterback of the only undefeated team in the NFL, you're going to get a lot of credit. Peyton Manning wins this one with 26% of you thought that he should be the midseason MVP. Why do you think that Manning got the vote over guys like Matt Ryan, Aaron Rodgers, J.J. Watt?
Well, Manning has certainly been excellent. You take away a few quarters, obviously had the dud in the first quarter in Atlanta, and then he actually had a couple picks in Cincinnati, but the way he bounced back was so impressive. I think that, first of all, the schedule that the Broncos have faced in the first half and the way Manning has just caught fire and sort of lifted that team will get him there. And then I think it's impossible to ignore in the back of our minds. No one knew what we were going to expect from Manning heading into the season. Certainly that's a factor here. As far as Matt Ryan's concerned, he's been wonderful. Of course, they're the only undefeated team in the league. He's working with a new coordinator. He has, a great group of weapons, and he's playing almost perfect football, but he can be stopped. He was held without a touchdown last week against the Cowboys, so while he's been excellent, I don't think he's the MVP.
Well, if the Falcons are able to go 16-0, it's going to be, and Matt Ryan's playing well, which you would assume those go hand in hand, yeah, it would be very hard for him to not win the MVP, but there's certainly a lot of competition this year. So Arthur, as we always do, putting you on the spot, who's your MVP for the first half?
It was so hard for me to not choose J.J. Watt here, but what it boiled down to is that this is a quarterback-driven league, and there's no more important position. There's no individual position that has, his hands on each play more so than the quarterback. So again, I'm going with Aaron Rodgers. No Greg Jennings, no Jermichael Finley for at least, certain parts of the season, no Cedric Benson. He has overcome so much. The absolute craziness in Seattle that they've bounced back from, and of course that controversial game. I just think he has been so important to that football team, and to me, he is the midseason MVP. He's the guy who I expect to be at the top of this list after 17 weeks.
I give the fans a lot of credit because I do kind of agree with the idea of Peyton Manning being the MVP. He changes so much of the game on both sides of the ball for a Denver Broncos team that barely made the playoffs last year. But I do agree with you, Arthur. I'm going with Aaron Rodgers again, and I look to that game against the Houston Texans, a team you cover. You know how good that Houston defense can be on primetime TV. Rodgers was just ridiculous, and he's clearly still the best quarterback in the league. And you talk about all those injuries. Look at the offensive line injuries, the running back as well. Rodgers, my first half MVP as well. But you, the fan, you guys voted for Peyton Manning. What do you think of these results? Be sure to comment on our YouTube page and head to our website at ProFootballWeekly.com.